The Toolbox Buzz crew got together to do another head-to-head. This time we took a look at full-size impact drivers. There is no doubt that impact drivers have completely changed the construction industry and drastically improved both our productivity as well as the quality of our work. Impact drivers allow us to more quickly install threaded fasteners while avoiding the damage to those fasteners. We're also using them to install bolts and all kinds of other stuff. In this latest head-to-head, we selected 10 full-size impacts from a wide variety of manufacturers. We decided to use only full-size traditional impact drivers and to exclude the new class of hydraulic impacts because those kind of seem to be emerging as a different class all unto themselves. So we'll look at those separately. Our impact driver head-to-head included the following tools. We looked at the Bosch IDH 182B, the Dewalt DCF 887B, the Hilti SID 4-822, the Cobalt 672 824, the Makita XDT 12T, the Metabo SSD 18 LTX 200, the Milwaukee 2753-52, the Portacable PCCK 647LB, Rigid's R86037, and of course Ryobi's P237. At Toolbox Buzz, there is a complete article on this whole thing listing the basic specifications for the tools, which I'm not going to get into, a link to their webpage, as well as the batteries that we used in this test. So if you want to read the full story, you got to go to Toolbox Buzz. We set into this head-to-head, when we start thinking about it, some of the toughest decisions are how are we going to evaluate? What's our evaluation criteria? What will it include? There are endless testing criteria and situations for any tool. So we try to develop tests that we feel users can relate to. For this evaluation, we did not consider runtime. While many of you guys might be a little frustrated with this decision, we feel most of the majority or the major tool brands that are offering full-size impacts are using good lithium battery packs along with brushless motors. So in most situations, when using these tools, you're going to get enough runtime to complete the work in a standard work day. Additionally, or furthermore, if you own more than one battery pack, it's unlikely that you'll drain one battery before the next one is charged. And if your batteries are draining that fast, it's time to upgrade. For this head-to-head, we decided to focus mostly on productivity. In order to do that, we had to look at several common areas for impact drivers and the spread in which they operate. The tasks in these tests are common tasks that we perform on our regular jobs and regular basis. And so for us, these are great indicators on how productive that these impacts can be. So we developed 3 productivity tests. The first test was a 3-inch deck screw test. We took the average time to drive that 3-inch screw into pressure-treated southern yellow pine. Then we did a 3/8 by 3 lag bolt test into southern yellow pine, again average time, as well as a 5-inch timber lock test, average depth of drive, depth time, southern yellow pine. In addition to productivity testing, we also wanted to get a relative comparison on power and applied torque. Torque testing is difficult to do and we don't own fancy lab equipment. So we decided to do some static torque testing. I can see the comments already. You guys are going to go, some of you guys are going to be, oh. For this test, we tightened a 1/2-inch bolt and nut assembly and we did it into a 1/2-inch thick piece of steel. And we did it for 6 seconds. We impacted 6 seconds. After applying torque with the impact driver, we then removed the nut using a digital torque wrench. And we set that wrench to measure maximum torque applied. We did this same test 5 times for each impact driver and reported the average torque. So that's how we got to our results. The last part of our evaluation included ergonomics. For this evaluation, the entire group, the test group, sat down here in the shop and we evaluated all the impact drivers that we had used during the day, during the test. With everyone on the team using the impact drivers differently throughout a normal workday, this was a great way to develop a consensus on what tools we felt were the most comfortable to users. Let's talk about the 3-inch deck screw testing. The results of that test, the winner of that test, was the Dewalt. The first test we performed was installing 3-inch deck screws, and that was, like I said, into Southern Yellow Pine. The same user did the test, and this is a task that we feel many of our readers do on a regular basis, and it highlights a task that can benefit from improved speed of installation, no doubt. And ultimately, productivity gains, if you think about it. We took the average of 5 fastener installations, and then we reported that. We had the same user do the test for all the impact drivers, and we all got a chance to do that. And we did that to minimize chance of time being affected by different users. The following chart, or the chart I'm going to show you right now, shows the results of this test. And if you look close at the graph, you'll see that Dewalt basically has the fastest average to fully drive 3-inch deck screws. Makita was a close second, and obviously followed by Hilti in 3rd place. It should be noted, guys, that at these top 3 impact drivers only had a difference between them of 0.08 of a second, which really isn't a very big difference at all. While hundredths of a second probably won't change the overall productivity of a user over a full day's work, some of the other impacts that were slower by 0.1 of a second could add up to some sort of a significant time waste over the course of a day. Who knows? The next test we looked at was the lag bolt testing, 3/8 by 3 lag bolt testing. And the winner of that test was Makita. That test basically was done by installing 3/8 by 3 lag bolts into pressure-treated Southern Yellow Pine. And the lag bolts, the reason why we chose lag bolts, they're still a popular fastener for decks and timber framing. So it's a logical choice for impact drivers. Guys use them all the time. And again, we took the average of 5 fasteners installed, performed by the same person for all the impact drivers. And everybody got a chance on that. And if you look in that graph, Makita had the fastest average time to install those lags. And again, pressure-treated Southern Yellow Pine. Coming in a close second was Hilti, followed by Dewalt in 3rd place. The results basically for this test were certainly more spread out than the deck screw test. And there's clearly an advantage in productivity for users of these top impact drivers. And when it comes to installing heavier fasteners like lag bolts, you got to think about that. 5-inch timber lock testing. The winner of this was also Makita. This test was done, and we took basically 5-inch long timber locks, structural timber lock bolts, and we screwed them, we installed them into Southern Yellow Pine again. And you know, guys, with today's advancements in engineered lumber, these fasteners have become almost a standard on all wood frame projects. Impact drivers are the perfect tool for this application. So this, we felt, was a really good evaluation and something we do a lot of. And again, we took the average time to install the 5 timber locks and used the same users. As you can see from the graph, Makita, they crushed this task. They really excelled. Coming in 2nd place was Dewalt, and Milwaukee followed in 3rd place. So Makita, Dewalt, and Milwaukee. The top 3 drivers have a very big advantage over the rest of the field with this test, which results in huge productivity advantages for the end user. Talk a little bit about our static torque testing results. I know you want to hear about that. The winner for that was Rigid. The final test that we performed was a static torque test. And in this test, like I said, we applied torque to a 1/2-inch bolt and nut assembly attached to a steel plate. The torque was applied for 6 seconds, at which point the impact driver was removed. And then we removed the nut using a digital torque wrench meter. The meter allows us to measure for peak torque. And that's measured as a nut is being removed, right? So as you break that nut free. Again, we took the average result from 5 installations by the same person. And as you can see in the graph, rigid was the winner with the highest torque required to release the nut. Second place was Makita, followed by Cobalt in third place. These results are a bit intriguing when you look at some of the tools that ended up in the back of the pack. However, these are impact drivers, not impact wrenches. So I just want to say that. So does the lack of peak torque really matter that much? Well, it's a balancing act. I might not buy a torque wrench, but I might want to use it for a few things. But for applications like deck screws, small lag bolts, structural fasteners, all of the impact drivers had more than enough torque to do this test. Ergonomics. That's the most difficult evaluation that we do because it's a subjective process. We evaluated the size of the impact driver, weight, balance, grip comfort, LED lighting, as well as functionality of controls. And for this evaluation, there were 6 reviewers with input and feedback on each and every tool. For this category, we're naming the top 3 tools based on the overall consensus of that group. The winner was Makita. Makita is by far the most compact of the impact drivers that we tested, and the entire group felt it had one of the most comfortable grips. Due to the short length as well of the head assembly, it's very well balanced impact driver with easy to use controls. The only thing that we didn't feel was up to par was the LED light locations. We'd like to see them better placed. Hilti came in second. The Hilti was definitely one of the most comfortable impact drivers we tested. And what I mean by that is it has a really sleek design. Lack of appendages, it really makes the tool sleek and less likely to snag on things and get caught on things, and definitely less likely to be damaged. This impact driver is very well balanced and offers great lighting. They have 4 LED lights around the housing. Third came in Dewalt. Dewalt has probably the most comfortable grip of all the impact drivers. The Makita and Dewalt are both comfortable, but Dewalt, I like the Dewalt. This impact driver is also well balanced. It offers 3 LED lights around the housing with great visibility. The only negative thing that we found with the Dewalt was there's a little bit of slop between the battery and the receiver where the battery slides in. I want to talk to you guys a little bit about pricing and value. It's always hard to compare pricing of cordless tools, especially when manufacturers package them differently. Bare tools, kits, you know, all of this stuff. And then various size batteries, right? So it can be difficult. It's no longer apples to apples. When you consider pricing along with performance, we felt that Milwaukee Fuel Kit was the overall best value, and that was $299. That included the 2 5.0 amp hour battery packs, as well as the hard case. The value of the Makita is also excellent, $349, and was also the winner of a whole bunch of our tests. So let's talk about overall best impact driver. We always struggle with announcing the overall winner, and especially when there are so many great power tools available today. It's important to note that we are making these judgments based on a criteria that we have chosen, we have laid out, right? Which in some cases, it might not be the criteria that you would use on your job site. So you got to keep all this in mind. But when ranking the test data from what we did and considering ergonomics as well as pricing and following our top 3 impact drivers, we chose for first place Makita. The Makita driver really blew away the competition on the tests, on the 3 tests that we performed. In the speed test, it won the speed test and also the 3/8 lag bolt, and it did amazing in the timber locks and came in second on the deck screws. So I think, yeah, it came in second place in the static torque testing as well. So we also felt it was the best when it came to overall ergonomics. Priced at $349, including a hard case, this is an exceptional impact driver. Overall second place was Dewalt. The Dewalt did very well in our testing. It finished first in the deck screws, second in the timber locks, and third in the lag bolt testing for speed. While it finished last in the static torque testing, it's worth noting that it has no trouble performing any of the other fasteners we installed. It's an impact driver, not a wrench, like we talked about. So the tool clearly supplies more than enough torque to get that job done, the jobs done that we mostly use it for. When it came to ergonomics, it finished third and offers one of the most comfortable grips in the market. Priced at $348 without a case, it is also an excellent impact driver. And third place overall winner was Hilti. The Hilti impact driver did extremely well in our testing. It finished second in the lag bolts, third in the deck screws, and fourth in the timber locks. Its sleek design earned a second place in ergonomics, and it finished in the middle of the pack in the static torque testing. This unit is priced at $399 and includes that really excellent soft bag, and it makes a really, really good choice for an impact driver. So to conclude the head-to-head testing, I just want to talk a little bit about some final thoughts. This was a fun evaluation because the field is so closely matched, for the most part, and while we picked several winners, it's worth noting that we made choices based on razor-thin margins. For many users, the decision on which impact driver that you need to buy, or you should be buying, it most likely should be based on your battery platform. It's what makes the most sense for you and your budget. If you're invested in batteries, then you look at that battery platform. The bottom line is almost all these impact drivers are very, very capable of performing most of the fastening tasks for small and medium-sized fasteners. The Porta cable, which we didn't mention, struggled to keep up with the competition, but it was able to perform all the tasks we did. It just didn't place. So if you don't own an impact driver, or you're still running the old brushed versions, do yourself a favor and go get one of these newer brushless impact drivers. I'm Rob Robillard. We'll see you at the next tool review. Please click the subscribe button below. We'd love to have your support. Take care.